An intelligent man is not recognized by how much he talks, how loudly he explains himself, or how often he tries to prove he is right. True intelligence reveals itself in restraint, in awareness, and most importantly, in what a man refuses to say, even when emotions are high and ego is tempted to speak. Most men lose respect not because they lack intelligence, but because they speak from impulse instead of clarity. One careless sentence can undo months of attraction, authority, and trust. One emotional reaction can quietly place you in a weaker position without you realizing it. And the most dangerous part is this. These phrases often feel honest, harmless, or even vulnerable in the moment. An intelligent man understands something most men learn too late. Words are not just communication. They are positioning. Every sentence signals value, confidence, emotional control, or lack of it. And once certain words are spoken, they cannot be taken back, only remembered. This is why intelligent men are careful with language. Not because they are manipulative, but because they understand consequences. They know that saying the wrong thing at the wrong time reveals insecurity, emotional dependence, or low self-worth, even when the intention was good. Many men believe being open means saying everything they feel. Stoic wisdom teaches the opposite. Not every emotion deserves a voice, and not every thought deserves expression. Intelligence is the filter between feeling and speech. In relationships, in dating, and in life, there are phrases that instantly lower a man's value. Phrases that signal neediness instead of strength. Phrases that give away leverage. Phrases that shift the dynamic from mutual respect to silent imbalance. And once those words are spoken, the energy changes. What makes this dangerous is that society encourages men to speak without discipline, to explain themselves, to over-communicate, to seek reassurance through words. But attraction, respect, and authority are not built through verbal excess. They are built through calm presence and intentional silence. An intelligent man never speaks to be validated. He never explains himself to someone who has already decided. He never uses words to beg for understanding. And he never reveals emotional dependency disguised as honesty. In this video, I will break down 7 things an intelligent man never says, not because he is cold, but because he is aware of timing, aware of power dynamics, aware of how words expose mindset. These are not obvious phrases. Most men say them casually, without realizing the cost. But once you understand why intelligent men avoid them, you will start hearing conversations differently. You will notice how much strength is lost through unnecessary words and how much respect is gained through restraint. Stay with me, because this video is not about memorizing lines. It is about upgrading your awareness. Once you see these patterns, you cannot unsee them. And from that point forward, your presence, your communication, and your authority will shift permanently. Before we start, a quick reminder. The real transformation doesn't happen on YouTube. It happens inside the community. If these videos have opened your eyes, what's inside will rebuild your mindset completely. It's not just a course, it's a brotherhood. A private space where men master attraction, emotional control, and the psychology of power. You don't join for a month, you join for life. Every future course, book and lesson is yours forever. No subscriptions, no limits, just one decision that changes your direction. If you're serious about growth, discipline, and purpose, click the link below. Join the community, enroll once, grow forever. Let's dive in. Section number 1. I just want to be honest. One of the most common phrases men use to justify emotional leakage is, I just want to be honest. On the surface, it sounds mature, open, and authentic. In reality, this sentence is often used to excuse unfiltered emotion, insecurity, or the need for reassurance. An intelligent man understands that honesty without timing and structure is not strength, it is exposure. There is a critical difference between truth and emotional dumping. Truth is calm, deliberate, and grounded. Emotional dumping is reactive, driven by anxiety, and motivated by a desire to be understood or validated. When a man says, "I just want to be honest," right before expressing fear, neediness, or frustration, he is not communicating strength. He is transferring emotional weight onto the other person. In dating and relationships, this phrase often appears when a man feels uncertainty. He senses distance, mixed signals, or loss of control, and instead of observing and adjusting calmly, he speaks to relieve his internal tension. The words feel relieving in the moment, but they shift the dynamic instantly. What was once attraction becomes emotional responsibility. An intelligent man does not use honesty to soothe anxiety. He regulates himself first. He understands that not every feeling deserves immediate expression, and that emotional clarity must precede communication. When words are spoken from emotional imbalance, they reveal dependence rather than depth. This does not mean suppressing emotions or becoming cold. It means choosing the right moment, the right context, and the right reason to speak. Intelligence is knowing when silence preserves strength better than explanation. Some conversations should happen later, when emotion has settled and clarity has returned. Many men believe that saying everything they feel creates closeness. In reality, closeness is created through emotional stability, not verbal excess. When a man consistently verbalizes his uncertainty under the label of honesty, he trains the other person to associate him with emotional pressure rather than calm presence. Stoicism teaches emotional mastery, not emotional denial. Mastery means feeling fully without being ruled by feelings. An intelligent man feels deeply, but he speaks selectively. His words come from choice, not compulsion. When you remove, "I just want to be honest," from your emotional reflexes, something changes. You stop speaking to release tension and start speaking to create clarity. Your words carry weight because they are not constant. And when you do speak, it is from stability, not urgency. This is why intelligent men are often perceived as grounded and confident. Not because they hide emotions, but because they do not allow emotions to dictate their communication. Section number 2, I need closure. I need closure sounds reasonable, mature, and emotionally aware, but an intelligent man understands what this phrase actually communicates beneath the surface. It does not signal strength or self-awareness. It signals emotional dependency on someone else's explanation to regain internal stability. And the moment a man hands that responsibility over, he gives up his power. Closure is not something another person gives you. It is something you decide. When a man asks for closure, he is often saying, "I am uncomfortable with uncertainty, and I need you to explain yourself so I can feel better." That may feel honest, but it places the other person in a position of authority over your emotional state. In dating and relationships, this phrase usually appears after mixed signals, emotional withdrawal, or rejection. Instead of reading behavior and accepting reality, the man seeks verbal reassurance that things meant something or that the outcome could have been different. The intention is relief, but the effect is the opposite. It reinforces imbalance. An intelligent man understands that behavior is closure. Consistency is closure. Distance is closure. Silence is closure. When someone pulls away, avoids effort, or creates confusion, the explanation has already been delivered through action. Words are not missing. Acceptance is. Requesting closure often keeps men emotionally stuck. It creates a loop where the mind waits for answers that rarely satisfy. Even when explanations are given, they rarely heal because they do not address the real loss, which is expectation, not the person. Stoicism teaches that peace comes from controlling what is within your power and releasing what is not. Another person's thoughts, emotions, and decisions are not yours to manage. When you stop seeking explanations and start trusting observable patterns, clarity replaces obsession. There is also a hidden cost to asking for closure. It frames you as someone who needs permission to move on. It suggests that without her validation, you cannot resolve your own emotions. This quietly lowers perceived strength and reinforces the idea that your emotional balance depends on external input. An intelligent man resolves uncertainty internally. He reflects, learns, and adjusts his standards without needing the other person to participate. He understands that not every ending requires a conversation, and not every silence is unfinished business. When you remove "I need closure" from your vocabulary, you reclaim authority over your emotional world. You stop chasing explanations and start choosing alignment. And once you do that, you realize something freeing. The calm you were seeking from her words was always available through your own decision to let go. Section number 3. Why are you doing this to me? "Why are you doing this to me?" is one of the most revealing sentences a man can say, because it shifts responsibility for his emotional state onto someone else. It frames him as a victim of her behavior rather than the owner of his response. An intelligent man never speaks from that position because he understands that power begins with ownership. This phrase usually appears when expectations are violated. She pulls away, becomes distant, or stops investing, and the man feels confused and hurt. Instead of stepping back and observing the pattern, he reacts emotionally, seeking an explanation that will restore a sense of control. The problem is not the question itself, but the emotional posture behind it. When a man asks why someone is doing something to him, he implies that his peace depends on her choices. This communicates emotional vulnerability without strength. It signals that her actions dictate his internal state, and once that dynamic is established, respect quietly erodes. An intelligent man understands that people act according to their priorities, not according to your expectations. He does not personalize behavior that is rooted in someone else's capacity, emotional availability, or intentions. Instead of asking why, he asks whether the behavior aligns with his standards. Stoicism teaches that suffering increases when we demand that others behave differently to accommodate our feelings. Freedom begins when we accept reality as it is and choose our response accordingly. When you remove blame from your language, you regain clarity. This does not mean suppressing emotion or pretending not to care. It means expressing emotions without surrendering agency. An intelligent man may acknowledge disappointment, but he never frames himself as powerless or wronged. His language reflects self-possession, not emotional dependence. There is also a subtle manipulation hidden in this phrase, even when unintended. It pressures the other person to justify themselves, explain, or feel guilt. Intelligent men avoid language that seeks control through emotional pressure, because it undermines authentic respect. Instead of asking why she is doing something to him, an intelligent man observes what she is doing and decides what that means for his involvement. He does not seek explanations to feel better. He seeks alignment to live better. When this phrase disappears from your vocabulary, something changes internally. You stop reacting and start choosing. You no longer wait for someone else to soothe your emotions. You regulate yourself and act from clarity. That shift alone separates emotionally intelligent men from emotionally reactive ones. One speaks from grounded awareness. The other speaks from pain. Section number 4. I can't lose you. I can't lose you is a sentence that feels romantic, loyal, and deeply emotional, but an intelligent man understands the hidden message it sends. Beneath the surface, it communicates fear rather than strength. It signals that your identity, stability, or sense of meaning has become attached to another person's presence. Attraction thrives on choice, not dependency. When a man says he cannot lose someone, he implies that his emotional well-being depends on that relationship continuing. This creates pressure instead of closeness. What was once mutual connection becomes emotional responsibility. Most men say this phrase during moments of insecurity or distance. They feel the bond slipping and reach for words to hold it together. The intention is to express value, but the effect is often the opposite. It places the other person in a position of power, where they are no longer choosing you freely, but managing your emotional state. An intelligent man understands that love expressed through fear does not deepen connection. It weakens it. Emotional strength comes from knowing that while you value someone deeply, you are still whole without them. This balance creates attraction and respect because it reflects inner stability. Stoicism emphasizes self-sufficiency, not isolation. Being self-sufficient does not mean being closed off or emotionally distant. It means your sense of worth does not collapse if someone leaves. When you communicate from that place, your presence feels secure rather than heavy. There is also a long-term cost to using this phrase. Once you reveal fear of loss, you may unconsciously adjust your behavior to avoid abandonment. You tolerate more. You explain more. You compromise your standards. Over time, this erodes both self-respect and attraction. An intelligent man expresses care without surrendering autonomy. He can communicate interest, appreciation, and commitment without framing the relationship as his emotional lifeline. His words reflect choice, not desperation. When you remove "I can't lose you" from your language, something shifts. You stop clinging and start standing. You allow connection to exist without fear of collapse. And paradoxically, that emotional independence is what creates the strongest bonds. Strength in relationships does not come from how tightly you hold on. It comes from knowing you can let go without losing yourself. Section number 5. I did everything for you. I did everything for you is one of the most damaging sentences an intelligent man never says, because it turns effort into a transaction and care into a debt. Even when it is factually true, saying it out loud reframes generosity as sacrifice and subtly accuses the other person of failure. The moment this sentence is spoken, respect begins to erode. An intelligent man understands that whatever he gives by choice. Time, effort, attention, and commitment are not favors that need to be repaid. When a man reminds someone of how much he gave, he reveals that he was expecting something in return, whether that was loyalty, validation, or permanence. That expectation, once exposed, weakens his position. This phrase often appears when a man feels unappreciated or taken for granted. Instead of reassessing whether the dynamic is balanced, he verbalizes his resentment. The intention is to be understood, but the effect is guilt-based pressure. Attraction does not grow under pressure. Respect does not survive it. Stoicism teaches responsibility for one's own choices. If you chose to give more than was reciprocated, that is not a moral failure by the other person. It is information about misaligned standards. An intelligent man does not weaponize his generosity. He learns from it and adjusts. There is also a hidden message in this phrase that most men do not notice. It communicates that you overextended yourself beyond what was healthy. It tells the other person that you ignored your own boundaries and now feel entitled to compensation. That signal does not inspire appreciation. It creates discomfort and distance. An intelligent man gives freely, but watches patterns closely. He does not keep emotional scorecards. The moment effort feels one-sided, he does not complain. He withdraws. Silence becomes feedback. Absence becomes clarity. When you remove "I did everything for you" from your vocabulary, you regain dignity. You stop framing yourself as the exhausted giver and start acting as the chooser. You recognize that effort is only valuable when it is mutual and sustainable. This shift also changes how you approach future relationships. You give from abundance, not from fear of loss. You contribute without attachment to outcome. And when something stops being balanced, you step back early instead of staying long enough to become resentful. An intelligent man never uses past effort to justify present attachment. He understands that effort does not entitle him to love. alignment does. Section number 6. Tell me what you want me to do. Tell me what you want me to do is a sentence that instantly removes a man from a position of leadership and places him into a position of submission. It may sound cooperative, flexible, or emotionally available, but an intelligent man understands what it truly communicates. It signals uncertainty about one's own standards and a willingness to shape oneself to fit someone else's expectations. This phrase usually appears when a man senses emotional distance or dissatisfaction. Instead of evaluating whether the relationship aligns with his values, he hands over control and asks for instructions. In that moment, he stops being a chooser and becomes an applicant, waiting to be approved. An intelligent man never asks someone else to define his behavior, his boundaries, or his worth. He knows what he stands for, what he offers, and what he will not tolerate. When a man asks to be told what to do, he reveals that his sense of direction depends on external validation rather than internal clarity. Stoicism teaches self-governance above all else. A man who cannot govern himself will always feel unstable in relationships because his emotional center shifts based on another person's mood or approval. This instability is felt immediately, even if it is not consciously recognized. There is also a hidden burden in this phrase. It places responsibility on the other person to manage the relationship. Instead of two adults choosing each other freely, one becomes the authority and the other becomes reactive. Attraction fades quickly in this dynamic because desire thrives on autonomy, not obedience. An intelligent man listens, observes, and decides. He does not ask for a script to follow. If something is not working, he reflects on whether it aligns with his standards. If it does not, he adjusts or walks away. His actions are guided by values, not by instructions. This does not mean being rigid or unwilling to compromise. It means compromise comes from mutual respect, not from self-erasure. When both people are grounded in who they are, collaboration feels natural. When one person asks to be molded, imbalance forms. Removing this phrase from your vocabulary forces growth. It requires you to develop your own clarity, your own boundaries, and your own direction. And once you do, your presence changes. You no longer feel like you are auditioning for acceptance. You feel centered. An intelligent man does not ask how to become acceptable. He decides whether the situation is acceptable to him. Section number 7. I'll change for you. I'll change for you is one of the most dangerous promises a man can make because it sounds noble while quietly erasing his identity. An intelligent man understands that real growth is self-directed, not negotiated under emotional pressure. The moment change is offered to secure love, approval, or stability, it stops being growth and becomes self-betrayal. This phrase usually appears when a man feels he is about to lose someone. He senses distance, disapproval, or dissatisfaction, and instead of evaluating whether the relationship is aligned, he offers to reshape himself to keep it alive. What he does not realize is that this promise signals fear of loss, not commitment. Change driven by fear never creates respect. It creates imbalance. The other person becomes the standard, and the man becomes the project. Once that dynamic is set, attraction fades, because attraction requires authenticity, not compliance. An intelligent man knows the difference between self-improvement and self-erasure. He is always willing to grow, but he grows because it aligns with his values, not because someone else demands it. Growth chosen freely strengthens identity. Change offered as a concession weakens it. Stoicism teaches that integrity is non-negotiable. You may refine your behavior, mature emotionally, and correct mistakes, but you never abandon your core to avoid abandonment. The moment you promise to change for someone else, you communicate that your current self is not enough, and that belief eventually becomes reality. There is also a long-term cost to this phrase. Even if the relationship continues, resentment quietly builds. You begin to feel constrained, monitored, or inauthentic. The version of you that was accepted is no longer real, and maintaining the performance becomes exhausting. What started as love turns into pressure. An intelligent man changes for one reason only: alignment with his own standards. If a relationship reveals areas where growth is needed, he addresses them independently. If a relationship requires him to become someone he is not, he walks away. Removing "I'll change for you" from your language forces honesty. It forces you to ask a harder question. Does this relationship fit who I am becoming, or am I trying to become someone else to keep it? That question alone saves years of wasted energy. An intelligent man knows that the right woman does not ask him to abandon himself. She chooses him as he is, while supporting the growth he already chose. Anything else is not partnership. It is negotiation of identity. In short, intelligence is not measured by how quickly you respond, how deeply you explain yourself, or how much you reveal when emotions rise. True intelligence is revealed in restraint, in awareness, and in the discipline to remain centered when speaking would feel easier than silence. The phrases you avoid matter more than the words you choose. Every sentence you speak either reinforces your self-respect or quietly gives it away. Intelligent men understand that language is not just communication, it is positioning. It reflects your emotional control, your standards, and your relationship with yourself. When you remove these 7 phrases from your vocabulary, something fundamental changes. You stop speaking from fear, neediness, and emotional urgency. You begin speaking from clarity, intention, and calm authority. Your presence becomes heavier, your words carry more weight, and your silence starts communicating confidence. This is not about becoming cold or distant. It is about becoming self-governed. Stoic men feel deeply, but they do not allow emotion to dictate expression. They choose when to speak, why to speak, and what outcome their words create. The result is respect. Respect from others, but more importantly, respect for yourself. And self-respect is the foundation of attraction, leadership, and inner peace. If you want to go deeper than surface-level advice and build this mindset permanently, understand this. Transformation does not happen by watching one video. It happens by training your thinking daily, refining your standards, and surrounding yourself with men who hold the same values. That is exactly what we build inside the Stoic couple community. A private environment where men master emotional discipline, attraction psychology, boundaries, and Stoic clarity for life. This is not temporary motivation. It is a framework you carry into every relationship and every decision. If you are ready to stop losing power through words and start gaining respect through presence, the link is below. Join once, grow forever, stay calm, stay aware. And remember, an intelligent man does not need to say everything he feels to be understood. Remember, knowledge means nothing without action. If you're ready to rise above emotion and lead with purpose, join the community today at the link below. Enroll once, grow forever.